Hi, everyone. Now that we are a few weeks into the semester, I wanted to do a quick update, kind of get everybody on the same page, especially because I know some of you all were registered later in the semester and you may not have received the welcome email that I sent. So, um, my name is Arthur Aguirre. All of my information is on the syllabus, it's on Blackboard. My office hours this semester are on Tuesdays from 1:30 to 4:30. So if you need anything, you can, if you want to stop by my office in Kelly Hall, you can do that. I also have a link up on Blackboard so you can access me during those times on Zoom. And just know if you need anything, I know this is independent studies, it's a little bit different. We're not really meeting, but if you need to meet with me and that time and day does not work for you, like please reach out to me. My schedule is not entirely flexible, but I am more than happy to make it work to make sure that all your questions are answered and you know exactly what's expected of you in this course. That being said, I wanted to go over a couple things. One, the reflections, I just left those up. I'm going to let those be self-paced, right? And I should take another step back. So in case you haven't already gotten it, because I know I have some students who haven't done any of the weekly reflections yet, this is a book that we're using. Okay, so if you haven't gotten it yet, please get it. It's what we're using for the entire semester. But yes, in terms of the weekly reflections, those are self-paced. So if you want to knock them all out, by all means, go ahead and do so. I will just add that these are essentially in lieu of you being in class every week. So they should be somewhat substantial. I'm not giving you a necessary word limit. I will say for those who have been turning those in consistently, you've been pretty spot on. If there's anything missing, I usually put something in the notes so you know why you lost points and you know how you can make sure you get full points for the next one. Outside of that, I think the big thing I wanted to make sure I addressed was the final paper, which is the synthesis paper. And how I want you to think of it is that it's three different parts of a paper rolled into one paper that you're turning into me at the end of the semester. First part of the paper is going to come from this textbook, right? You choose either one or two of the parts of the model, whatever, you know, with the first synthesis coming up soon, you could just focus on the first few that we've covered. But, you know, in the first chapter, it goes over all the entire model. So if you want to use the entire model, you're more than welcome to do that. So the first part of your paper, you would just be talking about that model or whatever parts of the model you're going to be focusing in on. What we want you to do, or what I want you to do, is to explain that model using an example. And the example can really be whatever you want. I've had students use a TV show episode, and some folks have used a movie. Some folks have used a case study. There's a number of things that you could use for that. And what you'll do is in the second part of your paper or the second synthesis, you just talk about that TV show or that movie. So let's say you wanted to talk about the TV show The Office, right? So in the first part of the paper, let's say you just want to focus on congruence, right? Just making sure that we are living and acting in living up to our ethics and our values and our morals, right? And you can use one of the characters. If you wanted to use Michael Scott and see if that's how he lives and acts and is congruent himself, then what you could do is the first part of your paper, you just talk about congruence, maybe talk about its place and its importance within the model. The second part of the paper, you would just talk about The Office, right? Give me a synopsis of the show, who are the main actors, and what characters do they play. And then at the very end, you can right as you're about to transition into the last part of the paper, you would explain, like, here is I'm going to focus on season 2, episode whatever, right? Or I'm going to focus on these 2 episodes. I don't suggest doing more than 2 episodes. And then you transition into the final part of the paper, which would that third part of the paper is what you'll be adding on to the first 2, and I'll get into that right now for your final paper. And that's where you pull specific examples. So in this episode, Michael Scott does X, Y, and Z. That's an example of him living congruently, and then you make an example and you write everything out, and you just pull as many examples as you can, you know, making sense of the book using that example. Now, I know there might be some confusion if you went through the syllabus and saw that in the final paper you can include your previous synthesis statements or assignments. What I mean by that is that's the easiest way of turning in this paper, right? So it is a 10 to 15 page paper, and to avoid you all writing all of that all at once, it's why I have this broken up. So you'll turn that first paper that's just from the book, nothing else. You don't talk about The Office if that's what you're focusing on. You just talk about that in your first paper and you turn that in, right? And I can provide you some feedback. A few weeks later, your second part of your paper is due, and you just talk about The Office, right? And then I give you some feedback on that. And then for the final paper, you include those and you make the edits, right? Like if I give you some suggestions or show you why you lost some points, you make sure you fix those. And then you add that third part of your paper where you pull out the examples and make sense of the model using whatever TV show or media or case study that you used, right? So then that's when you have your full 10 to 15 page paper, but you've already written 2/3 of it, right? So by the time we get to the end of the semester, you're just adding that last section, introduction, conclusion, transition sentences, and then you're good to go. So that's how your final paper, that's what your final paper is all about. In terms of the mid-semester assignment, you have some options. So you have a leadership interview if you want to do that audio or video. Zoom might be probably the easiest way. I think even with a free account, you can record enough of that to submit it. Just upload it to YouTube or whatever. You can use OneDrive if you want to use that and just send me the link. You can do a leadership profile, or if neither of those really feel like it's something you want to do and you want to create your own assignment, you just talk to me and we can figure something out for that mid-semester assignment. But that is essentially your options for that mid-semester assignment. The synthesis right now is the main thing I wanted to make sure I clarify. So your major assignments, just to clarify one more time, your major assignments, those do have those hard, fast dates. And I will probably send an email. Well, I'm sending this link in an email. But I will highlight those due dates for those assignments. But in terms of your weekly reflections, those are purely self-run. So those are all available to you all. If you want to go in, like I said, if you want to go and knock all of those out, you can do that. Just make sure that you're following along with the right chapter for those weekly reflections. That said, all that being said, I know this is an independent study. It's different than the in-class, experience. And I wanted to make this as close to an online course essentially as we can get it without you all having to constantly come and check in. And that's more for your schedules, but please, that is me trying to be aware that some of you all are graduating soon, and not wanting to put any unwanted pressure on you all to meet with me. But if you need help, if you want to come in and check in, that is part of the independent study as well, is that we have at least some check-ins throughout the semester. So whether it's responding to my email, reaching out to me, stopping by my office hours, there does need to be some communication. This will not be the last time that I'm checking in with you all. I figured this type of video would be the easiest way instead of trying to get everybody on the same schedule and meeting, either a Zoom or whatever it might be. So I will be doing this more frequently, and or just sending out emails. But if you have any questions, if you need any additional help, again, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, email me, let me know what questions you have, or if you just want to talk about what we're reading or talking about, just reach out to me. I can't emphasize that enough. I want to be here and support you in whatever way I can. So, like I said, I will be reaching out later on in the semester. I've been checking as soon as you turn in a weekly reflection every Tuesday when I'm in my office hours. I grade it so that way you know exactly where you are in terms of the assignments that you've turned in. I will do the very same thing when it comes to your synthesis papers and your mid-semester assignments. So again, welcome to the class. My office is in Kelly Hall 220. If you need anything at all, don't hesitate to reach out.